Cinema Classics is sponsored by WCBE 90.5 FM, Columbus, Ohio, and is produced by John DeSando and Johnny DiLoretto. Listen to shows online at wcbe.org.
I'm John DeSando.
And I'm K G Kline, stepping in for Johnny DiLoretto.
And this is Cinema Classics.
What a fun and interesting one we have today.
Oh, KG, you know, when a film gets the Palme d'Or at Cannes, it has
means
my
something.
attention.
Oh,
It has
yes.
my attention.
Yes.
Is that the top prize?
It is. There are several, I believe, that are given out,
Okay.
but I think this is the one that everyone strives for, and this is the second time this director has won it.
So first of all, we're talking about Triangle of Sadness.
Triangle of Sadness.
All right, which is apparently the part and the bridge of between your eyes and your nose that shows.
I don't know this for
wrinkles.
sure, but it's mentioned early in the film that it is this small line between your eyebrows that you get from worrying or
Yes.
having a stressful life.
And apparently those in the business of, and particularly in the fashion business, know what it means.
Know what it means,
Right.
and it's mentioned that it can be cured in 15 minutes with a shot of Botox.
All right, so we're talking about Ruben Östlund.
Östlund.
We have that little what?
Yeah,
Umlaut. or
umlaut
something?
there,
Yeah.
and he is a Swedish director,
Right.
and this is a Scandinavian comedy. And if you've never been exposed to Scandinavian comedies before, this is a really good way to start because it kind of covers all the bases. It gives you kind of the 101. And I'll probably talk a little bit more about Scandinavian cinema later in our
It strikes me as being odd in some sense that it's not the hilarious kind of humor that we are.
No.
It's very reserved.
You do not get that with Scandinavian cinema in general, but their comedies are always very dark comedies, and they're usually dramas with elements of comedy. So they're not our typical Woody Allen, Mel Brooks kind of comedy. They're dramas that have very, very dark, funny moments that kind of come out and stab you in the side.
For such a fair people. You know, it's odd to me.
Well, they live in a nation where it is cold a lot of the year. Nature is trying to kill you. And it's also very dark at times. You know, they start losing the sunlight, and in the wintertime, they might only get a couple of hours of sunlight all day. So it is a culture that's used to darkness and to some melancholy, I would say.
And Ruben Östlund apparently likes dark.
Well, he definitely likes. Now, I've not seen any of his other two films.
Oh, I have.
Have you?
Yeah, I have.
My goodness, wonderful.
Yes, I've seen both of them. The Square.
The Square, yeah.
And what's the other is? Let me see this. Yeah. Wait a minute now.
But they were both in Swedish, weren't they?
I believe so.
Yeah, I think this is his first English language film.
Yeah. Oh, don't do this to me. Wait. The Force Majeure.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So both of them have to do, of course, with social problems.
Yeah.
And the Square artists, would you say? Well, you haven't seen.
I haven't seen the
film.
film. I haven't seen the film.
The Square particularly goes square off right onto artists, and the artists, the whole artist milieu.
Okay.
And Force Majeure is powerful about a family skiing. And Dad gets embarrassed because he runs for his life when the avalanche comes down and leaves family. Everybody gets out, but he's very difficult for him to live down the fact that he ran for his own life.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, very. So Ruben loves this kind.
Well, Ruben got his start doing short films about skiing, and that's what got him into film school in Sweden and got him noticed.
So we have a triptych here, 3 parts in this film.
Yes.
Our Triangle of Sadness, which I think is an odd title.
Well, I like the title because the Triangle of Sadness is sort of a metaphor for the whole film. It's this thing that you earn by worrying and having a stressful life and working And it can be cured at the whim of the fashion editor by simply giving you a shot of a deadly poison directly into your forehead, which is sort of kind of what this film was about. This film is really targeted on two things, which are very popular subjects in Scandinavian cinema. One is the very, very rich. The Scandinavians love making fun of the very rich because their tax system is designed, they tax very heavily, but you get a lot of things for free. And as a result, they have a thriving middle class, but very, very little upper class. And most of the people in the upper class are considered to have been tax dodgers.
So you think they're the object of the triangle?
They are, and the very beautiful people.
Right.
Because, of course, Sweden is the world's largest exporter of supermodels.
And in both cases, and I like this because in both cases we're talking about privilege.
Oh yes, and
wealthy,
class. Privilege and class.
And class, exactly. Yeah. And so while we have a young couple in the first segment, and then really rolling through the young man who is Carl, played by Harris Dickinson.
Harris Dickinson, who we saw earlier this summer in Where the Crawdads Sing.
Yes,
He
right.
played Chase, the villain, the bad boy.
So we have that young couple and the recently deceased Yaya. Charlby Dean.
Charlby Dean,
who plays Yaya here.
She's a South African actress who was very up and coming. She'd done a couple of films, was in one film series. Most of it had not gotten released in the United States, so this was going to be our first exposure to her.
So the two of them played the couple,
and this
glamorous couple.
This glamorous couple. This first sequence is very short. Mostly it's just the two of them in a restaurant, and we see that he is very controlling and very manipulative, and she is very shallow and vain. And this is another characteristic of Scandinavian cinema, is in America we would expect to be sympathetic to both of these characters, like in Sleepless in Seattle, or at least sympathetic to one of them. But in Scandinavian cinema, it is not uncommon that we should not like either one.
And I think that's achieved. And so they go through into the second and third segments.
Yeah.
And the young man goes particularly through the two segments.
He goes through all three segments.
Because he trades on his sexuality.
He trades on his good looks.
Yes.
Although she is the one that gets them this free cruise on this very exclusive yacht, and where they're hobnobbing with billionaires. Very small, very exclusive yacht. The yacht that they filmed on was actually Aristotle Onassis' yacht.
Yes.
Christine O.
Yeah.
And second segment is a longer segment, and it's set on the yacht, where you see that the crew of this yacht will stop at nothing to give these passengers whatever they want, because they're all hoping for a big tip at the end.
Except for the captain.
Except for Woody Harrelson.
Who's a bit detached.
He will not come out of his cabin. He's in there binge drinking. He schedules the captain's dinner for the one day in which they're expecting terrible weather.
And one of the grotesque parts of the film, which is also, there's a dinner in the square that's also very rough. And this one is not only rough, it's well, you have puking all over the place. I mean, it must be from the rocking and rolling of that boat.
Well, that, and it's mentioned earlier in the film that this passenger wants to see all of the crew members on the boat sliding down a water slide into the ocean. And the cooks tell them, well, if we do this, the food is going to go bad.
Yes.
But they insist on doing it anyway to please this passenger. So you've got this combination of very bad food and this terrible storm that's rocking the boat, and you end up with a movie that has just broken a 39-year-old record for the most vomiting seen on screen. It beat Monty Python's Meaning of Life.
If you had a reservation I have about the film, it is its quick descent into absurdity.
This film should be rated V. Do you know why?
No.
For vomit.
It should. I get the point. It is not pretty to watch.
It is 8 minutes of continuous on-screen vomiting. So if you are the least bit squeamish about this, we are preparing. Now the film is still worth seeing, but be prepared for 8 minutes of some of the most disgusting cinema you've ever seen.
But it is worth if for nothing else, to see Woody Harrelson being drunk through most of it. He seems to take to that very easily.
And then talking class and socialism with a Russian billionaire, who was played by the same fellow who, if we remember that Michael Bay movie from about 10 years ago, 2012, this fellow played the Russian billionaire in that movie with the trophy wife. And in this movie he plays a Russian billionaire with a trophy wife.
I think Harrelson is spouting over the loudspeaker, maybe Marx and Noam Chomsky, that he has several really out there ideas that he's putting across there, not caring really if anybody's hearing it.
And he does a beautiful job with this film. I mean, when he is on screen, it just magnetizes.
Oh, it does. And he's the best known for us.
Oh, definitely the best known.
But he's not, once the ship capsizes and they're left on the island,
yes,
he's out.
He's out.
Yeah.
Well, almost all of the people we see on the ship are out. There's, I think, what, 9 survivors?
Is it?
Yeah, I believe there's 9 survivors that make it to the
Yeah.
island, and that is the 3rd chapter of the film.
Yeah, and I first thought to myself, well, I'm going to have a mashup here of Love Boat and Gilligan's Island.
And instead we get Lord of the Flies in Gilligan's
Exactly.
Island.
Right, we really do. So, the boat, I'd like to kind of end on our discussion of the segment on the boat, only to say, surely memorable is the manufacture of grenades.
Oh, well, there's a wonderful line. Yes, there's a couple on board the boat, an elderly couple, Winston and, what was her name? Geraldine? Something like that. And they are, when they're asked by the 2 models what they do, how they got their wealth, they say, well, we manufacture precision engineered equipment. And as they peel back the layers, they find out their business was manufacturing hand grenades and landmines. And they're despondent because the UN had shut down landmines, and that cut 25% of their wealth, but they managed to struggle through anyway, making only $3 billion instead of 4 a year.
And you'll have to see what happens on the boat.
Yes.
Ken, I think people are going to have to go to Double Take, our podcast on WCBE Podcast Experience, to get the rest of our conversation.
Today especially, because I will give a little background in Scandinavian cinema that will make it easier to understand what this film is talking about and how this film is so unique.
What is your advice to our audience?
My advice is go out and see this. I don't think this is going to stay in theaters long. It's not playing widely, and this is a really great opportunity to see a Scandinavian comedy, and there aren't many.
Right, and it's not comedy as we generally know it.
Definitely not, but if you enjoy black comedy,
Yes.
if you really enjoy very quirky European films, if you like British comedies, I think you would really enjoy this movie.
Yes.